Yeah, my best guess is that I got up around 9:30 in the morning. I'm going to put a tiny version of the emblem of the Mexican flag in this white space because right now the image in this belt buckle represents the flag of Italy rather than that of Mexico. Yeah, I felt somewhat tired in the morning, and then Dad and I did some things. Had a pretty busy day, and so I didn't manage to get that much work done on this styrofoam drawing that I'm working on, but the progress I did make was pretty significant. I used these two Sharpie markers in order to take another crack at drawing nails. This time I tried that color combination on the fingernails. This one for the bed part, this one for the nail part. It was around 2 p.m. when I had the two lengths of sausage cut up along with some ketchup. I played quite a bit of Bloons Tower Defense 6. According to my best guess, it was around I think it was around noon when Dad and I went out. At first it was in order to see his realtor to discuss things about getting a house. I went in with him. And one of the staff members offered either coffee or tea, both Dad and I. And I said that I would love some coffee, some plain coffee. This is actually marker, not some kind of scrape or anything like that. I said that I would like the coffee plain. and I was given it during the meeting in a sort of conference room, small little conference room, between Dad and his realtor. I asked Dad what house he was interested in getting. Since there's a chance that at some point I'll be living with Dad, at whatever house he picks. He also went to his bank later today in an effort to get pre-approved for a mortgage loan. I think that was around 2 p.m. or 2:30 p.m. maybe. After some brief driving practice on his mailman route, in which he said that my turns were a lot better. Before the practice was cut short due to essentially the appearance of a sort of truck. I would describe it as a garbage truck of sorts, even though it didn't really look like a garbage truck, at least not my idea of one. And because it seemed like that truck was going to stay a while, I believe it was parked on a somewhat narrow road that was on a turn, and it ended up taking about half of the road and made it so that turns on that road would be pretty perilous. The one time I encountered it, Dad felt he had to take control of the wheel in order for us to maneuver around that truck safely. Then Dad and I briefly visited his parents' place, though only his dad was home at the time. As his mom was off shopping. After that, we went home for a few hours until about 5:15 p.m. That's when we went to Salvatore's. Hours earlier, around noon to 1 p.m., I'm going with the 1 p.m. since this was after the meeting with the realtor, at which point I was still finishing up the coffee that was given to me. It was given to me in a Starbucks style cup. A paper cup with a cardboard sleeve to protect your hand. In my case, this one from the heat, or this one more. Around 1 p.m., we initially considered going to most likely Sam's Diner. But then I expressed that I wanted to do the driving practice first, primarily so then I wouldn't have to worry about doing it, since at this point, before I start the practice, driving practice is something, the prospect of doing it is still something that makes me a little nervous. So that led us to ultimately deciding driving practice and then not going to Sam's Diner. Then I think near one of the banks he went to one bank with me, dropped me off at his place. I had the sausage cut up with ketchup. And then during that time, he went to another bank to get pre-approved. And near the first bank was a Tom Walls, a burger place. Dad briefly entertained the idea of going to that Tom Walls. It had been a while since we had last gone to a Tom Walls, so I was interested, but then it ultimately turned out he didn't actually want to go to Tom Walls, or at least not as much as he wanted to go to Salvatore's later, which we did around 5:15 p.m. after a period of a couple hours in which I played some more Bloons Tower Defense 6 and worked on this styrofoam drawing. What I did for these lines, I started them from the front, continued them on to the sides. Then from the sides, from each side, I would start with a little bit on each side coming toward the middle. I would put a dot that was a little higher than the two bits from either side, and then I would connect the side bits, some at a time, toward that dot I put in the middle. And this is what I did for all three of these. I plan on continuing this pattern throughout that entire jacket, and then most likely I'm going to draw on this shirt the emblem for the Mexican flag, followed by filling in the gap with this light gray Sharpie marker. When we got to Salvatore's for my first alcoholic drink, I got something Dad and I refer to as a coconut drink, but in reality is probably closer in description to a pina colada. It's a drink of essentially pineapple with some coconut mixed in. Possibly some other fruit juices, but I didn't really detect them enough for them to be notable in my memory. It comes with cherries and an orange slice, which I ate at different points, and drank the drink itself somewhat slowly. Abby, one of the bartenders at Salvatore's, gave me one half of her pepperoni super slice, because she didn't want to eat a big meal, because doing that makes you tired. The same thing is the case for me. This is what I got for my $10 pasta dinner special. Which Salvatore's does every Tuesday. It also comes with garlic cheesy bread, but I opted not to have that with this pasta. We got those pasta dinners to go, both mine and Dad. I think Dad got penne with pesto sauce. Although at the time we got that, Dad put those orders in. I was having my second alcoholic drink, which was a mule with grape-flavored vodka. Prior to that, Dad placed an order for some fried dough, and then some friends of Dad to the right of us. This is how I tell left from right. A backwards L means right. We were pretty close to the right corner of the bar area, so they were at that corner area, they gave us some of their 2 Thin Thins. One with pepperoni, and sausage, and I think the other one with just bacon. We got some slices from both of those Thin Thins. It took 2 attempts, but I managed to successfully request a box for the Thin Thin slices we were given, since I didn't feel like eating all of the Thin Thin slices I was given, since at that point at Salvatore's I felt bored, hot to the point where I was sweating lightly, and somewhat exhausted at that Salvatore's, sitting at the bar area. And to an extent, I wanted to get back to work on this styrofoam drawing, though I think by the time I got home around 7:30 p.m., I kind of just wanted to go and take a nap, and so I did. When the fried dough order arrived, it turned out they had put on so much powdered sugar and cinnamon that some pieces, when I bit into them after dunking them to get more powdered sugar and cinnamon on them, there was a sort of explosion of powdered sugar and cinnamon as I bit into the piece, causing some to get on both my shirt and the bar counter area right in front of me. In those cases, I wiped those pieces off, that powder off, with napkins. Around that point, I was also biting into at least one Thin Thin slice I was given onto one of Salvatore's pink and white paper plates. I did all this while playing a game of Bloons Tower Defense 6. I don't think I remember at this time exactly which map I was playing, but it was an intermediate map on the standard hard difficulty. I think I ended up getting some grease on the screen of my phone, so it's a good thing I have that screen protector. Also, there was a point in which I blew my nose, and then my glasses had to be cleaned, in particular this lens. There were also 2 points in which I played BitLife for a bit. The first was, I think, when I was first getting into Dad's car to go see his realtor, and then I primarily played BitLife today toward the end of our visit at Salvatore's. I couldn't get my character a job within the military, possibly due to her age, and maybe lack of education. I didn't really have that in mind at the time, but I opted to first go to community college and then go to college to get a degree in art history. Got a part-time job as a mover for $15 an hour. $15 an hour. Started with 11 hours a week. Asked for more hours and got it pushed up to 15 hours a week, while for 40 hours a week, studying first at that community college and then at college, paying money for tuition to get that art history degree. Then I bought a yacht because it was part of the part-time job challenge, only now I don't think I'm going to be able to complete it because now with all the expenses I have, plus no longer getting those millions from playing basketball, I'm going to have to get some kind of part-time job if I want to maintain, a full-time job if I want to maintain the yacht. Also managed to get artificially pregnant again at a fraternity clinic in my character's mid-40s. The new son ended up being named JB. Also, around 10 in the morning, Dan and I both had a sort of breakfast that consisted of a single small square of leftovers from that large pizza we got at Salvatore's the other day, which is what I had for dinner yesterday. A large pizza that consisted of an Alfredo sauce base, with bacon and regular pepperoni.